A Super Talk Mississippi media production. Pike County, here comes your morning show. Dave in the morning on 93.5 FM, Super Talk Mississippi.
So now, understand, you're not going to dictate to me what I do and what I don't do, but I'm still the mayor, Mr. Brown. Cheap adhesive isn't holding me. My mouth is a gun I can shoot. I can show you the truth. No pun intended, no punishment. If I offended you, you needed it. Ideas are the bones in your mind. A fisher in time. If you don't have a weapon, you can't have mine.
None of this meeting is recorded. None by any parties. Correct?
Councilman, mine is recorded. I'm being accused.
End of conversation.
I want to make it on record. I want the allegations in writing, or the accused, or on recording of this harassment.
And now, here's your host, Dave Hughes.
Good morning to you. How you doing on a Thursday? A beautiful Thursday out there, no less. And for the first time this year, let's see, we had a hurricane, had an unexpected time off, had some other things. This is the first North Pike Thursday actually happening on Thursday this year. Good grief. It's brought to you by McComb Wholesale Paper and Chad Reed, your shelter insurance agent. And joining me this morning for North Pike Thursday, head coach of the North Pike Jaguars, good buddy of mine, Coach Matthew Mike. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Dave. How are you?
I'm doing real good so far.
Well, yesterday was a little warm, but I'm kind of starting to enjoy some of these colder temperatures. It's starting to feel a little bit like fall.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it's going to warm up a bit more. 90 today, 92 tomorrow for game day. Just to let you know,
it doesn't feel like October, and it's almost here.
Yeah, well, isn't that always the way? We had a couple of weeks ago that nice cool spell, and as I said at the time, well, there's our first false fall.
Fake fall, false fall.
We get a couple of those minimum every year. That was number one. I really wish number two would go ahead and get here. I could stand another week like that, but we'll deal with that, when we deal with it later. Let's talk about what's going on. Okay, and let's just call things as they are. Not the start you were hoping for the season.
You say that, and I don't disagree. I mean, every time you roll out there, you want to win, and ultimately we're judged based off of wins and losses. But it's a way bigger picture. It's like writing a book. It's a chapter. It's. I told the kids the other day, it's like chopping a tree and just chopping a little piece here, a little piece there, and it's about how you grow. And it's I know it's the old coaching cliche, but what is the hardest thing for a fan or a parent or anybody that's not part of the program is to see what you put in and day out and see what those young men go through. And so somebody asked a question, one of the high school kids on the yearbook post, and I had to do it. Why are we struggling at quarterback? Why can't we throw the ball? Why did you start the year 1-0 and now you're 1-2? It's simple. It's easy to ask questions. That's fine. But it's a lot harder to truly understand, well, when you're out there with those young men and seeing what they're capable of and seeing what they're not capable of, it's a little bit more challenging.
Well, and one thing to me anyway, sitting on the outside looking in, which is what most people don't admit when they start criticizing, and this isn't a criticism, this is an observation. It's not like you're playing JV teams. You've had some tough opponents.
So when I walked in, I was thinking about what I was going to say, and that was the first thing that popped in my head. We could, and I told the kids, we could have scheduled some weaker opponents. We could have scheduled some cupcakes, if you want to use that term. But I didn't want to do that. And 2 years ago when we set this schedule up, we knew that Franklin County was a rivalry from back in the day. We knew Park Lane was going to be a tough opponent, being in week 4 versus us week 2. Ridgeland's a 6A program with tons of athletes, and so it was one of those things that we knew we were going to have some challenges. But would you rather get kind of punched in the face and have some challenges early on, or would you rather be 4-0, 5-0 going into district play thinking you're the best team in the state, and all of a sudden you go up against somebody who's a lot better than what you've played so far?
Yeah, exactly, because that's the thing you have to remember. District play, district games, that's what counts. The rest of this is the warm-up, getting ready to play for what matters. And like you said, you're 4-5-0. And then you have your first game that actually counts, and they're not quite as easy as the ones that got you to 4 or 5-0. You're kind of putting yourself at a disadvantage both in preparation and, I would think, in motivation and focus.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I mean, to use a more realistic analogy for the fans and people that are listening, I know there's a whole lot of Ole Miss people out there, and I'm not knocking them at all, but if you look at their schedule so far, they've played, Fordham, they played Wake Forest, they played Middle Tennessee State. They've broken a record for most points scored in 3 games, and that's great. Good for them. They're doing some very special things. But they haven't played in Alabama. They haven't played a USC, or, they haven't played a Texas like Michigan has or LSU has.
Georgia.
There's
some buzzsaws out there.
And I'm not saying that that's not the way to go. Some people have a different philosophy. Let's get as good as we can, have some success, and see some things. But either way, it doesn't matter. I've seen teams make the playoffs at 4-6, and I've seen teams make the playoffs at 10-0. All that matters is you get to that point in the season.
How hard is it? Because you've got 2 options. When you have a start like this against some buzzsaw teams, and you wind up upside down on your win-loss record, there's 2 ways that can go. Either the team gets demoralized and you're done. You might as well go ahead and deflate the balls now. Or they take motivation from that and get a chip on their shoulder and go, oh, no, we're better than this. I'm going to prove it to you. How do you direct them towards that second attitude?
So I think it's the true answer to that is a culture that you tried to instill upon them starting back in January, and you can't get everybody heading the same direction. Your hope is that way, but after 20-something years of doing this, you're still going to have that 1 or 2 group of people that just can't handle what's not what they thought it was going to be. And every year you have 1 or 2 people who decide that they're no longer going to keep going. And so you try to, in a way, say, okay, well, go ahead. You can go do something else. And the guys that are here, let's work with them. And the guys that are here, let's keep fighting it, making this thing our goal. It's tough, sure, but at the same time, it's like when you tell them, guys, it's you can't use the word broken because you haven't done what you wanted to accomplish to break it yet. And so we're right where we need to be as far as we'd love to be 3-0, but we're sitting right there ready to play for tomorrow night against East Central. And shoot, let's go out there and play football and show them what we're capable of.
You and I have talked about it before here on the show, that it's not just your job to teach them football or to win. It's your job, just like everybody else at every school on the planet, to get them ready for life. Sometimes life punches you in the mouth hard, puts its hips into it. I mean, it'll lay you out. Seems like to me there's some good life lessons here.
Oh, it is. And I think for the most part, you realize that when you get older. You realize that when you finally look back and you see what your coach was trying to say, or your mentor or your teacher or just your preacher, whoever that person was in your life. And it's hard to see it when you're 16 and all you care about is your girlfriend and eating pizza tonight, or, hey, I might have a little side job that makes an extra $20-$30 here. But if you truly show them that, hey, guys, this is what we're trying to accomplish, they start to see it. And some of them are still just not going to be able to understand the true potential of it. But I look back at my high school coaches and the people that were in my life, and I say, man, I wish I would have listened a little bit more, or hey, I wish that I could have really truly grasped it. But it's a sign of life. That's a sign of realizing who's important in our lives. And sometimes we pick the more friendly person, and that person might get us in trouble. Or we might pick the person who's a little bit prettier, but that person may not be the person for us, as far as a relationship goes. But like you said, 'tis life, right?
Well, and this goes back to scheduling the opponents, the non-district opponents, to start the year. It's the same principle. The path to success is most often not the easiest one to walk.
Yeah, far from it. I mean, look at the politics that we're dealing with.
Don't start, man.
I knew I could get you there. I got you a little triggered there.
You and I could talk for the next 6 hours about that.
Absolutely.
We've come close before. I know that. It's challenging. I'm sure you're catching grief. Because that's you have the most public job performance review on the planet every week.
So there's an old football coach, and he's not old, but he's old school for us. He's retired now. His name's Mike Justice. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's one of my mentor, and I heard many a story about him. And he said one of the funniest things one time is, as they were playing the game, he heard the crowd kind of boo, and he turned around and looked at him and said, "Heck, guys, if I would have known that play wouldn't have worked, I wouldn't have called it either." I didn't try to screw up. And he didn't use the word heck, but he's a very colorful man and very colorful coach. But it's a truthful quote. We get to point, especially on Saturdays and Sundays when we love watching football, we can point fingers and we can say that guy, what's he doing? And that quarterback, what's he doing? But he's getting a little pressure. It's not like he's going out there and just doing it against air, or what used to say as kids, ghost men that are standing out there. It's a full game no matter any way you look at it.
Everyone is a future Hall of Famer at whatever they're watching on TV from their recliner.
Absolutely. And I mean, perfect example is the Saints and Cowboys this weekend. And now some Cowboys fans are thinking this is the end of the world, and now some Saints fans are thinking Super Bowl. It's still 15 more games, guys. It's a long season.
Yeah, barely getting started.
Exactly.
The best you can say, off to a good start, off to a bad start. And then you build or crumble from there.
I agree.
And that's the choice. But I think a lot of people don't realize you have that same choice when you're 0-0.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a cliche. I keep saying back to it. You don't have to win 10 games to win a state championship. You don't have to win to be successful 10 games. You just got to win the next game. Just a game at a time. And I know coaches are coaches. But, I mean, come on, guys. I mean, why do you look ahead at a game? Because, it's a colorful game. It's a rival. Everybody's like, Ole Miss State, Egg Bowl. Well, let's enjoy the season as we go about. We're sitting here playing a 10-game season, and tomorrow's week 4. We're almost halfway done. Yeah. And that goes by fast. Enjoy those high school years that you have as a player, or enjoy those college years, or as a fan. Next thing you know, you're going to be seeing that young man graduate and move on. Enjoy the moments you have with them, because it'll be over with before you know it. Yeah,
and that's just part of life.
Yep.
Something you said just a second ago, again, just trying to relate this to people to see it from a different perspective, I guess. You made the comment about making those choices, whether it be the play calling, whether it be the opponents, whether it be all of that. Every day as an adult, you have to make choices. Do I go here? Do I go there? Do I do what they want? Or do I do what this person wants? How do you go about that decision making? And are you right 100% of the time? Well, the best way you can, and of course not, are the answers to those two questions. And I think we lose sight of that when we're looking at somebody else. We forget, if we were in that situation, how it would go.
I mean, 100% correct. And I think that it depends on who we are as individuals. What do we consider, our importance? Do we follow the golden rule? Are we a believer and we have some form of faith? I truly went back to church Sunday and listened to what the priest said, and he said something about, praying for the, what's in your heart and the remediation that you're using. And I'm not trying to get religious, but, you got to consider what you consider what is important in your life. And Sometimes as a football coach, I forget that. I've got a wife, I've got family, I've got bills, I've got to do in order. You're supposed to say, it's faith, family, then football. Well, sometimes it kind of gets screwed up. And, I'm not using this as an excuse, but Monday night we had a JV game, at South Pike, which is not that far down the road. But by the time the last young man left and by the time I walked into the house, it was 10 o'clock. My wife was already in bed. Dinner was what it was, but and it's the life I chose. It's no excuse, but in the lives we've chosen is what our careers are going to be. But we still go back to that old saying that this is a game. These are young men. We can point fingers and say, that guy's not very good or that coach is not very good. They still are people. They still are trying to do well. It's not their fault that they might not be the fastest guy or that coach may be trying to figure out some things as far as that offensive lineman's never played but one game. I can go on and on, but it's easy, like you said, to point fingers because we just got to sit there and say, hey, let's support each other. Let's support the ultimate goal. Don't sit there and say that it's still not accomplishable because it is still sitting right there.
You sound like you're getting close. I'm just curious. Have you heard the words? Have you reached a point yet to where you have heard the words coming out of your mouth saying, well, back in my day.
I'd say it more every day.
Okay. I heard hints of that all through the last 15 minutes. I just wanted to verify and make sure you were headed indeed in the right direction because that's about 48% of my conversation these days.
And once you hit 40, I don't say that that's an age to sit there and point. It could be 50 for some people, 55. You start to realize that, hey, I've got more years of experience on the adult side than I do as a young, man, as a child. And, it's been, so many years since I graduated high school, which is more years than I was when I was in school. And so, sure, it's easy to say that back in my day, and these young men, all they care about is TikTok or, and we didn't have TikTok, but, I think you just got to find a way to relate. And you got to sit there and say, look, hey, believe in the path and say, hey, guys, look, we're not sitting there trying to point you in the wrong direction. We're just trying to get us all on the same page.
Yeah, no one agrees with anyone. No one will fight for or pull for anybody who they don't feel is on their side. And how do you do that? This is Principles of Persuasion 101. They have to know, like, and trust you. Knowing you, yeah, they show up for practice every day. They're going to know who you are. But they got to like you on some level, and they have to trust you. If you get those three, yeah, you can do great things.
Well, I could argue that, we're voting for homecoming queen today. Well, you could work with bribery. The food always
works. That works too, yeah. The brownies.
Which we had to make that a rule. No more food. You can't give out. So, it is what it is. But, I agree with you. It's a little different story when you're trying to get somebody. Bribery only goes so far. You can once you. I still remember Davy Crockett back in the day. Supposedly he was going to get a vote, and somebody didn't vote for him because somebody gave him a sawbuck or something. And you're like, man, this has been going on for years, and I know it's totally not relatable, but it is in a way that if you truly want somebody to follow your path, you've got to convince them that you truly do trust them and that you truly do believe in them. And so that's an everyday battle.
Nothing is automatic, and probably the best example of that, I'm going back to politics now because you brought it up first, so it's your fault. Yesterday, when Sean O'Brien, the Teamsters Union president, announced that they weren't endorsing anybody for president, it's not that former President Trump didn't win that endorsement. It's that Vice President Harris lost it. Because that's an automatic Democratic
been one for
endorsement
for a century, and always has been. And he's a colorful character as well, and there's a reason that they vote for him as their union president. He's not, a nobody, and he's held that position for a while now. And he went head to toe with the senator from Oklahoma, who, if you go back and watch that, he's interesting for sure.
Yeah, he will bow up. To use a good Mississippi Southern boy term, he'll bow up at you and do it in a heartbeat. Very quickly, East Central tomorrow night. What are we looking at, Coach?
So, 2 years ago when we were setting the schedule up, you're trying to find an opponent. Well, it's kind of tough being in Southwest Mississippi because of how close you are to Louisiana. So it's a coast school. East Central's down there, almost in Mobile. It's close to me because the young man who was the ring bearer in our wedding is a senior defensive back on this team.
Oh, wow.
His dad's a guy I coached with who's coaching on this team. So it's very special to our family to have this moment. And he didn't get to play last year because he was hurt, so he gets to play this year. So it's kind of a fun moment. So that part is kind of personable for us. But they're a better team than their record shows. They're 0-3, but they did the same thing that we did. They played a George County, which is a 6A school. They played Pascagoula, which is a 6A school. They played Lawrence County, which is a 4A school not far from here that's had a lot of success through the years. They're better than the record shows. They're gonna come in and they're gonna do what they always have done, which is run the ball, and hope that you screw up and don't fit a gap just right or miss a tackle, and they take opportunities. We've just got to play mistake free, and that's the past 2, even 3 weeks. We've done well at times and made mistakes at times, which is life, but it's also football. And so this whole week has been go back and watch the film of what we didn't do well. And we spent a lot of time seeing, hey, guys, we were this close. And so it's not going to be mistake-free, but your goal is to try to be as mistake-free as possible. And if we do that, I like our odds. I like the opportunities our guys present. And honestly, I think this has been the best week of practice we've had all year. And so I've told the guys that each day, I'm like, let's just keep building. Let's keep building. And so we're going to go out there again today, this afternoon, probably get done about 3:45, send them home so they can go home and, get some rest and enjoy one last time before we suit it up and go play again.
Very good. Now, as always, you want support.
Absolutely. And I don't think people realize it. I've been doing it so long, I don't even hear the noise anymore because you just kind of zone out. It's kind of like in that movie For Love of the Game with Kevin Costner when he starts the mechanism and he doesn't hear the sounds. I do hear them, but I don't hear them as much as the kids do. They love turning around and seeing. You hope they don't because you want them to watch the game and stay focused, but they do turn around and see their mom or they see their cousin or they know who's in the stands and who shows up after the game to take a picture with them. And that's not just the football team. The band members, they perform at halftime. They want the crowd to be involved. They want, the dance team and the cheerleaders. And, the student section has always come out and been very supportive. But it ultimately comes down to we can't do this on our own. It's a full program. It's a full community. I think, like I said just a second, you only play about 4 or 5 of these things at home, and so you can't say, well, let's wait till the next week. You may not make it to the next week because of job or weather. Or go out there and enjoy some football while you can. It may be a little warm, but shoot, it's still Friday night lights, and that's exciting when it's all said and done.
And the fascinating thing is that I don't care if you're talking to someone in sports, if you're talking to a performer, band members, you got the hippies.
Yep.
Ask any of them, anybody that has been on a stage or on a field, ask them if there is a difference between playing to a lot of empty seats or playing to a full audience, and you will get the same answer from every one of them. It changes the way you perform if you've got a full house.
I hate to bring up bad memories, but we go back to 2020 when COVID hit and we played baseball games and football games in empty stadiums. Some of our pro athletes who are the best of the best had some of their worst years because it was complete silence. There was no support. It was just their buddies there with them. And while that's great, it's still not the same. And so I would much rather play in front of somebody that, is right there in the back of my ear and sitting there cheering and being loud than an empty stadium. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that there's one other thing here. Just being there is fine, but they feed off the energy. Be proud, be loud, be annoying. Really get on the nerves of the visiting side.
Absolutely.
With your support because it's so over the top, because that energy translates to energy for the players, and before you know it, we're having a good night.
Absolutely. And we have a pep rally Friday tomorrow before the game, and you see all that excitement, and you see the kids nodding their heads and listening to the band play, and they get a chance to enjoy some of that point because they don't during the game because they're so focused on it. But when they hear that same song or they finally get a chance to see those dancers do their performance or their cheerleaders do their cheers, it really is special. And so it's one of those things that we just got to truly look at these young people and see that, hey, they do care about something, and that if we do care about them, we're going to go support them and go out there and say, you know what, hey, this is what we want you to do in society, and when you grow older, we want you to be part of us, because that is a big deal for them.
Tomorrow night, kickoff at 7, right?
Yes, Southwest, and we're going to go out there and play football.
All you have to do is get there early enough to get a good seat.
Yeah, and there's plenty of them.
If you don't, take a bad seat. At that point, it's on you.
Bring your lawn chair, stand up. Shoot, I'm going to stand up all game. You can too.
Well, yeah. You're not allowed to have like a stool or anything out there, are you?
Yeah, on the hill. If you go out there on the hill, it's a different view. It's not in the stands. But if people bring their lawn chairs all the time and sit out there in the hill and look down, but
oh no, I meant you specifically.
Well,
I want to see you with that one leg cocked up, holding the clipboard, right there on the sideline.
I've seen it happen, and because somebody's broken a leg or they had to do what they did, I don't want to wish that on myself. So we're just going to say I'm going to be there the whole time.
That's the problem. You got to be ready to move at a moment's notice. I was doing some press work, and they had gotten me to take pictures.
Yeah.
At a Southwest game. This was 20 years ago. I mean, this goes back. So I'm standing there, I'm zoomed in, I'm focused, I am getting a great shot, and I didn't realize, it didn't occur to me that he was becoming more in focus and the shot was getting better and better because he was headed right for me. I did the most beautiful midair somersault when he just chopped right through. I mean, I'm standing out. He did nothing wrong. There was nothing. It was all me.
I didn't see it.
I saw it. I took a picture of it. I got to see if I can find that picture. He's literally
awesome. Behind
the face mask. He's got that face as he's coming in trying to get that last yard, and I'm standing here going, me take pretty picture, and just not focusing on that at all. So, yeah, you've got to have your wits about you.
I'm going to tell you one real quick story. My dad was the trainer at Mississippi State forever, and Dr. Longest, who was the team doctor forever, he was famous for taking players and throwing them in front of him if a play came to the sideline because he was not going to get hit. And they always asked him, why are you pushing people in front of you? He said, I can always fix your knee if it gets torn up. I can't fix my own knee. And that always stuck out at me that, hey, you got to do what you got to do to protect yourself.
Well, and that's what's so stupid. Everybody ran over and they're, because I'm laying there winded. I don't know what's going on. And all I could say was, are you okay? Are you okay? My only thing I could get out was, did he get the first down?
Yeah, that's exactly right.
When you're focused, that's all you're paying attention to.
How's the crowd taking it, right?
Yeah. Is there any specials yet at the concession stand? He has no idea what was going on. So when you're focused in like that, half a second to get off a stool could make a difference.
It does. It absolutely does.
And that's why everybody's walking around with their head on a swivel on the sideline.
If not, you're going to catch it one day, I promise you.
Tomorrow night, 7 o'clock is kickoff. Be there early to get a good seat. If you can't make it for some reason, which may not be as important as you think it is, but we'll give it to you, you can catch the game right here on Super Talk Pike County 93.5, and, of course, on your Alexa app. I'm pretty sure we're working on a way to play it through your toaster now. You got it on your phone. We got the app. You got it on our website. It's just not on your pager, though. Yeah. We've sworn off pagers after this
The carrier
week.
Pigeons are gone now, right?
Yeah, you do realize that's going to be the next step over in Lebanon, right?
It is, yeah.
One phone exploded, so they went to pagers.
Yep.
Pagers exploded, so they went to walkie-talkies. Next is carrier pigeons, and I will bet a decent amount of money that if they go to carrier pigeons, they're going to show up infected with bird flu. Come on.
I wouldn't have ever thought of that. That's probably right.
That's next. There's always a way. It's a crazy week, but boy, is that an understatement. Well, as usual, when Coach Matthew Mock shows up with the North Pike Jaguars for North Pike Thursday or any other day, this has been the best 30-minute, 15-minute interview in history.
I didn't even realize that either.
It's 9:34.
I got to go.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Otherwise, we'd sit here and do this all day. Coach, have a good game tomorrow night.
Thank you. Go Jags.
Keep up the good work, okay? We continue here in just a moment. North Pike Thursdays brought to you by Chad Reed, your shelter insurance agent, and McComb Wholesale Paper.
could have switched over to shelter insurance.
Actually, I found a deal online.
You did. Does your deal come with award-winning customer service?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Does the deal include a local agent?
Doesn't actually say.
Can we create a customized plan that fits our needs? Let's just call the local shelter agent.
For insurance that fits just right, find a shelter agent near you.
Come see me, Chad Reed, at 800 Rock Street for all of your home, auto, and life insurance needs. We're your shield, we're your shelter.
McComb Wholesale Paper Company has been servicing our area for years with quality supplies. McComb Wholesale Paper is your local source for supplying your office, restaurant, concession stand, or household, cleaning and janitorial supplies, food service items, and more. Got an event coming up? We offer daily rentals on popcorn machines, snowball machines, and cotton candy machines. Call 601-684-5521 or visit our new location at 1036 Gordon Covington Road in Summit. McComb Wholesale Paper Company, delivering weekly to Macomb, Summit, and the local area.
We're from the country and we like it that way. Dr. Romance for Selman's Jewelers. For 75 years, Selman's has served the wonderful folks of this area with fine quality jewelry, watch, and giftware needs. From natural and lab-grown diamonds to baby goods, silver jewelry, and much more. Selman's Jewelers on Delaware Avenue has worked hard to provide you with quality, service, and value. Come see us today. Layaways and financing available. Selman's since 1945.
Don't miss Dave in the morning, even when you miss it the first time. You can catch it on the podcast. Missing out would be a crime. Super Talk 93.5 is always the place to be. Wanna get the podcast version? Here, my friend, is the key. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. It's all there and it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, or just right there on the page. Dave in the morning, late at night, or anytime you have to pray. SuperTalkPikeCounty.com. It's all there and it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, or just right there on the page.
North Pike football is back. It's another exciting season of North Pike Jaguar football on Super Talk Mississippi Pike County 93.5. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A, Toyota of Brookhaven, Ag Up, Exhaust Pro, Southwest Mississippi Regional Medical Center, Peterbilt of McComb, and Lot Furniture. It's North Pike Jaguar football on the air at 93.5 FM. Available online at supertalkpikecounty.com and through your Alexa devices.
There's too many men, too many people making too many problems, and there's not much love to go around. Can't you see this is a land of confusion? This is the world we live in, and these are the hands we're given.
Welcome back. Super Talk, Mississippi Pike County, 93.5 on a Thursday morning. Always enjoy Coach Matthew Mock of the North Pike Jaguars being in the studio. Very good guy, very sharp, very intelligent, and knows very much what he's doing. Quite the contrast to what we've been dealing with the Macomb City Board. Yesterday, we played some of the audio, as much as we could get in, because we had Gay Austin in here with us with Pals. Don't forget, Toast and Tales coming up. 2 weeks from today is Toast and Tales going to be at the Mill in downtown Macomb from 6 till 9 that night. You can get your tickets at the door if you can't pick them up wherever they need to go. Then, of course, we have North Pike Thursday today. Tomorrow, by the way, tomorrow morning, we have Pike County Sheriff Wally Jones is going to be joining us. That's going to be good. It's going to be a good show tomorrow. It's been a good week. Something is going to go horribly wrong. It's got to. This has been too nice of a week so far. But we played some of the audio yesterday from what I have termed the kerfluffle, and it gets a capital letter. at the beginning. It's a proper name, not just a regular old noun. The kerfluffle continues to build because apparently Matt Cotting is the local version of former President Donald Trump. If he walked in and gave everybody a sandwich, there would immediately be at least 2 complaints about the spread that he used. Why didn't he cut the crusts off? I wanted my bread toasted. Why are you insulting me? Are you trying to imply that I can't feed myself? You know, same playbook we see all the time on the national stage playing out here. Well, the audio, I paused it yesterday because we ran out of time, right in the middle of Select Woman Terry Waterman Baylor explaining how insulted she was that Selectman Cotting did things like, make a motion. She didn't like what he made a motion about. You're only supposed to make motions about things that I think are worth making a motion about. You made a motion to take away some of my money, to apply it somewhere else. It ain't your money. He made a motion as a steward of the city of McComb to take funds from one place and apply them to a place where he thought they would be better used. That was not insulting. That was not a direct attack. That was doing his job. Literally. But everything is personal, as you know. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not even sure exactly at what point we paused this. It's not very far into this discussion with Select Woman Baylor. Starting off the meeting this way, the work session on Tuesday night, the first words out of her mouth were, before we get started. This was before even item number 1 on the agenda for the work session. We went into this. It lasted for 20 minutes. I'm literally just going to click play on where it was paused, and we'll pick it up and we'll run with it from there.
But first of all, just actually, for the last time, to handle Ward 2, and I will handle Ward 3. I was elected in Ward 3, and I would like for you to do what you need to do for Ward 2.
I value the concerns. I appreciate you speaking with transparency. But to quote our former mayor, Zachary Patterson, when we are elected, our lines then blur. What's good for McComb is good for McComb. Doesn't necessarily mean necessarily where we're located. To continue, we are not kings and queens of our wards. We are the voice for the city as one board. If the request from the select woman is that if there is a agenda item that refers to only Ward 3, then maybe we should all abstain from the vote and only one person should vote on it.
And that's the point he's making, is that this is ridiculous, and here's why I agree with that. This is all over him making a motion to take some of the money that was distributed to Ward 3 to work on their roads and move it somewhere else where Selectman Cotting thought it would be better used. It would give more impact and more benefit to the city of McComb. He made a motion. He did not go steal the money out of the account. He did not do anything behind the scenes. He did not do anything against the rules of the meeting, the rules of the city. He made a motion. It passes or it fails. If it passes, the majority of the board agrees with him. Shut up. If it fails, well, nobody agreed with him. Shut up. That's the process. That's how it works. But we're now to the point to where it isn't a personal affront because somebody makes a motion that I just feel was targeted at me. That's been business as usual in the city of McComb in that boardroom for a decade now. More than that. It's awfully funny that all of a sudden now we've decided to get offended by that kind of behavior. But I don't see the problem here. I really don't. Selectmen make motions. They either pass or they fail, and then we move on. And that is up to the board of mayor and select men and women. It's that simple. Make a motion. If nobody else agrees with you, nothing happens. So why so offended? That's what they can't explain. But let me say this. I love the analogy there of we are not kings and queens of our wards. There is not some invisible line, some force field between the wards shutting them off from the rest of them to where they are their own little fiefdom. We've had this conversation before because it's not the first time I've used the word fiefdom. I remember using words like fiefdom because they don't come up often in line at Dollar General. When I use it, it sticks out. But the problem with trying to deal with that kind of thing and with trying to call attention to it is there is no one that's more difficult to speak to than self-appointed royalty. There just isn't. When it comes to things stinking, there's one thing they know for sure doesn't, and it's there. Oh, wait, let me go back to the audience.
But I don't think that's the case. I think the case of the matter is that we all vote on all matters from the city, and we represent the city as a whole.
So your case is to sit in this boardroom and to motion to take my money that I was given, just like you were, and spend it the way you wanted to spend it. That was correct. That was professional, and that's what you should have done. That was your concern, right? Summer Street is your concern. Because I haven't heard you say anything or seen anything much that you do in Ward 2. And I'm not over here saying I want to take Ward 2 money and spend it any kind of way because I'm going to respect you. I didn't say that I didn't want you to vote for anything, but to be professional, we could talk about this, but you don't come to the board and put it on the agenda to motion, then tell me while you sitting right there, we'll talk about this later. So don't undermine me ever. And for you to think that you ever going to speak to me is a no.
Okay, is it just me or by implication? Let me ask you this question, see what you think. You just heard Selectwoman Baylor explaining that you in Ward 2, as the Ward 2 selectman, don't get to tell me in Ward 3 what I can or cannot do with any money that is from the taxpayers that belongs to the city that has been... It's not your money, number one. We have lost sight of that completely around the table. It's not your money. Not one dime is your money. It's taxpayer money. That's money that comes from the people that own businesses in McComb, that own homes in McComb, that spend their money in McComb in stores and restaurants. It's their money that you took some of. And now you're going to sit here and sanctimoniously preach about how you're not touching my money. It's not your money. Let's get that crystal clear. Well, yeah, but it was allocated to me. Oh, quit whining like a 3-year-old on the playground at preschool. Nobody is interested, and it's not helping the perception problem we keep talking about that hangs over the city of McComb like a pall. That's not helping anything. But she is saying that nobody else should be paying any attention to any ward other than the one that they were elected in. Nothing else. So by implication, does that mean that Selectwoman Baylor doesn't care if anybody in Ward 1 gets anything? Doesn't care. It's not her concern. She's in Ward 3. Ward 1 could fall off the face of the planet. Ward 5, forget about it. Not my problem. I don't care. We keep seeing all these trainings and all these conferences and everything that the city board members go to. Has anybody at any point scheduled any kind of team building exercise for this group? Because there is not an attitude of teamwork. Yeah, but he's attacking me. Oh, grow up. There is not a non-adult sitting around that table. Life is tough, and nobody, I do mean nobody, gets special treatment in case they might get offended. That's the basis, to me anyway, of the argument here. Money had been allocated, and you're going to sit here in this boardroom and you're going to make a motion as a sitting selectman to take away some of the money that this board voted to allocate and move it somewhere else and ask the board to consider changing the decision they had made, and that's disrespectful. No, you don't understand how anything on planet Earth works if you think that's disrespectful. That's the same process that was used for that money to be allocated to you to begin with. Somebody suggested it and the board agreed. Right? And once that's done, it's over. It's locked in stone. Don't ever touch it. Don't ever mention doing anything differently. And certainly don't bring it up and present it to the board and ask the rest of the board to vote on whether or not what you're proposing is a good idea. That is the process. And if that insults you, go home. I can't put it any more clearly than that.
We can all drive down Summit Street.
How many times do you?
And look at it. Well, and look at it. And you tell this board, is Summit Street worth the $1 million, nearly $1 million price tag to repave it? Does Summit Street work for the business owners and the citizens as it's currently laid out? The selectwoman talked about me taking a survey. I can tell you the results of the survey. Talked to 42 people.
Survey 13.
And 28 of them said they prefer diagonal parking on Summit Street.
Well, and here's where things went wrong to me. Because you are trying to explain the will of the voters, the will of the taxpayers, what they want after taking the time to try to find out. You're trying to explain that to people who don't care. That was like I mentioned it when Coach Mock was here during North Pike Thursdays just a little while ago. The whole thing with Sean O'Brien, the president of the Teamsters Union. They did, and they released this. That's what I find interesting. This was very much a backhanded slap to the Harris campaign because they did internal polling. The Teamsters Union called Teamsters members to ask them who they thought the union should support for president. Who were they supporting for president? And 58% of the Teamsters members told the Teamsters leadership they support Trump. 58%. And then President O'Brien of the Teamsters Union yesterday came out and said there was no clear consensus, so we're just not going to endorse anybody this year. Now, normally it would be business as usual, but you got to dig into the psychological implications of this. He said that with graphics showing the results of the internal poll, while he's saying there's no clear consensus, we're just not going to endorse anybody. Okay, number one, anyone who understands how numbers works knows he was lying. But number two, you show those poll results. Why? Because you're sending a message to the Democratic Party. You are sending a loud and clear message. The best I could do is stay out of it because you're losing. And again, think of the implications of that. The Teamsters Union leadership called the Teamsters Union members to get their opinion, and most of them were for Trump. There is no outside influence on this poll. It was a completely internal poll. There's no spin here. The will of the people stopped mattering a few years ago to the people in charge. Because I'm sorry, if Trump had 58% and Harris had 34%, that's a clear consensus. That's a majority, a firm majority of your membership says they want Trump. That's a clear consensus. But we're going to pretend that doesn't exist for the purposes of politics. That's what's going on right here. We don't care what the people want. We don't care what the people say. There is all this talk and all this angst and all this strife about whether or not Selectman Cotting went over and actually talked to people on Summit Street and how many people he talked to and when did he do it and who was with him and everything. How many times have you gone up and down Summit Street and asked them? If you're going to criticize that, how many times have you done it? If not, please explain for the class why the opinions of the people on Summit Street don't matter to you. I get calls all the time. Well, that's great. How many have you made? Sitting back and only talking to the people that bother to contact you is not the way you gather information. It's not the way you collect data. But we don't care about that. It's immaterial because sometimes the people don't want to do what I want to do, and we can't have that. That's the attitude that comes across through all of this, all of these discussions, all of this kind of nonsense. That's the message it sends. And you can bluster all you want. You can puff your chest out all you want. That's nothing to be proud of.
If you cry out for more,
you don't get to hold your head high and go, well, I'm here to represent the people, but I can assure you I'm doing my best job to do what I want to do. And don't anybody say anything about any aspect of it being changed. I don't care how many of those voters you've talked to. Honestly, it's insulting. Final break. We're going to close it down next.
let me cross this line and show you where it leads. There's a darkness down inside me that I know will both enjoy, and it's screaming from within to set it free.
We're from the country and we like it that way. Dr. Romance for Selman's Jewelers. For 75 years, Selman's has served the wonderful folks of this area with fine quality jewelry, watch, and giftware needs. From natural and lab-grown diamonds to baby goods, silver jewelry, and much more. Selman's Jewelers on Delaware Avenue has worked hard to provide you with quality, service, and value. Come see us today. Layaways and financing available. Selman's since 1945.
North Pike football is back. It's another exciting season of North Pike Jaguar football on Super Talk Mississippi Pike County 93.5. Brought to you by Chick-fil-A, Toyota of Brookhaven, Ag Up, Exhaust Pro, Southwest Mississippi Regional Medical Center, Peterbilt of McComb, and Lot Furniture. It's North Pike Jaguar football on the air at 93.5 FM. Available online at supertalkpikecounty.com and through your Alexa devices.
Don't miss Dave in the morning. Even when you miss it the first time, you can catch it on the podcast. Missing out would be a crime. Super Talk 93.5 is always the place to be. Want to get the podcast version? Here, my friend, is the key. supertalkpikecounty.com. It's all there and it's all the rage. Spotify, Amazon, or Apple, just right there on the page. Dave in the morning, late at night, or anytime you have the crave. supertalkpikecounty.com.
Dave Hughes here. Remember, every weekday morning at 9:06, it's Dave in the Morning, where we solve the problems of the world, or at least complain about them really loudly and sarcastically. And if you miss out, you can catch up with the podcast version of Dave in the Morning at supertalkpikecounty.com. Once again, an hour is about 6 hours too short. Seriously.
Closing time.
There's so much that we didn't even talk about, but we do have tomorrow. Again, tomorrow, Sheriff Wally Jones will be joining me here on the show as we get ready for a weekend starting at 9:06 tomorrow morning, my friend. I'll see you then.
a SuperTalk Mississippi media production.